Welcome back. You're watching Biz Check live from Broadcasting House. We have just finished a conversation around property management in Kenya, the reforms that are needed, and of course, the way forward and the adoption of technology. Time now to shift our focus, and for now, we just want to have a look at the African diaspora market. And I was talking about statistics. And when you look at the year 2022, about 93.2 billion US dollars was remitted to Africa by the Africans in the diaspora. Kenya alone, we are talking about more than 4 billion US dollars. And we saw these becoming the largest foreign exchange earner in this country. Going past, traditional items like coffee, like tea, even like tourism. And so that tells you the importance of the African diaspora. We've also seen the government, setting up a full department in charge of diaspora affairs at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And that is how significant and how critical this issue has become, not only here in Kenya, but around the world. And the sole question is, how then do we tap and harness the power of Kenyans in the diaspora as well as African diaspora? Joining me for this conversation is Dr. Sibert Mandega. He's the Executive Director of Diaspora Insurance. Thank you very much, Dr. Sibert.
Thanks, O'Brien, for hosting us this morning.
Very good. And just next to Dr. Mandega, we have Bernard Kaviu. He's the Chairman of Diaspora County 48. Yeah, we have 47 counties. When you factor in the diaspora, we have County 48 there. Thank you very much indeed, Bernard, for your time.
Thank you. It's such an honor to be here, O'Brien. Thank you for inviting us.
Very good. I mean, let's first of all try to understand who would be considered to be a Kenyan in the diaspora?
Any Kenyan who crosses the border.
Even to Ethiopia?
Even to Ethiopia, Uganda, Rwanda, Tanzania, Zanzibar. Anyway, once you cross the borders, you are a member of County 48.
County 48.
Yes.
You automatically become a member of, Kenyans in the diaspora.
Yes.
Because there has always been this traditional notion that Kenyans in the diaspora are Kenyans in the US, in UK, in Canada. But it's good that you have put this into perspective. The moment you cross our borders and you go to Rwanda, you become part of the Kenyan in the diaspora. If you go to South Sudan, the same thing. And so, with that realization in mind, as a country, do you think there is a deliberate effort to streamline and harness the potential of Kenyans in the diaspora?
Right. Okay. Thank you. What I would say is, yes, there has been a deliberate government action in trying to engage and work with Kenyan diaspora, people living abroad. And that was actually put on paper back in 2014 through the Kenyan diaspora policy, which is a document that outlines the relationship between the Kenyan government and the Kenyans living abroad. And actually, it's in that framework where the future issues of, for example, registration for voting, voting stations, and so on and so forth were captured. However, its implementation is what has become a big problem. There was what we regard either as a deliberate or intentional misinterpretation of that policy when it comes to implementation.
I want you to hold on to your thoughts, bearing in mind that you have more than 60 million Africans living in the diaspora, and we have just gone through the understanding of who qualifies to be called a Kenyan in the diaspora. We're in the company of Dr. Sibert Mandega. He's the Executive Director of Diaspora Insurance, as well as Bernard Kaviu. He's the Chairman of Diaspora County 48. And we're just talking about whether there is a deliberate effort, in trying to streamline and harness the potential of, Kenyans in the diaspora. And you are talking about the diaspora policy that was launched in 2014. And you are saying that there has been a challenge when it comes into the implementation. So what are the challenges?
Yeah, okay. So the point I was making was when it comes to the issue of one of the main issues that most people in diaspora have been feeling is that they are not really represented when it comes to policy making back home. And that's why there was a big push towards getting registration for those who live in diaspora, Kenyan diaspora, to register as voters and vote. So giving you an example of how that was implemented, according to that policy and also according to the Election Act, the Electoral Act, it says that diaspora, the IEBC, will provide the opportunity for those living abroad an opportunity to participate in the Kenyan democratic process progressively.
Yeah.
Okay, so the word used there is progressively. Now, how IEBC interpreted that, they took and say, okay, we are going to start first with a few countries, which was the East African Community plus South Africa. That was for 2017. And then in 2022, their interpretation of progressive was, we are going to add a few more countries, 7 more countries, including UK, Germany, US, Canada, AU, South Sudan, and so on and so forth. So it increased the number of countries where Kenyans could register to vote. But they ignored the other side of that coin, because the starting point was start by voting only for president. So if you're in diaspora, we can only register and vote for president. We cannot vote, register and vote for senators, governors, MCAs, MNAs. Okay? And that's one area we pointed to IBC and say, you are misinterpreting this word progressive. Progressive, when you're increasing the number of countries where we participate, you should also increase the opportunities of which seats we are going to vote for. So since 2017, it was for president only. Come 2022, president only. So we are saying this needs to be revisited, and revisited very quickly, because by the next election, we want to be able to participate. At least we are not saying, we can say MCA, we can wait, right? Even maybe member of parliament, again, we can wait. But at least let's also participate in the elections for senators, because they cover the whole county, and governors. You see, so that's one area. And to come to the other issue that we have really, really struggled with is the issue of the Kenyans. Everybody talks about our contribution towards remittances and so on and so forth. But there's the other side of that coin, which nobody looks at, is the struggle and the pain that a lot of people in diaspora go through. And when I talk about struggle, I'm talking of people so distressed that they get stranded in diaspora. People so ill from sickness, they cannot work, they lose jobs, and they are suffering in diaspora. People dying in diaspora, right? And when that happens, we've been employing the same Arambe spirit of mchango, okay? Let's fundraise here. So you'll find you are in about 10, 20 WhatsApp groups. A Kenyan who is suffering from fundraising, okay? In the diaspora. In the diaspora.
And the image that has been created around the diaspora is a community that is disease-free, that is poverty-free, that is trouble-free. But you're here just to confirm that that is far from the truth. And I want to bring Mandenga, to this conversation, and I want to hear from you. Bernard here has enumerated some of the challenges the Kenyan in the diaspora, go through. You are from Zimbabwe, another country that has a significant number of diaspora. Do you relate with what he's saying?
Yes. Like you said, my name is Sibet. I'm from Zimbabwe. I'm from Diaspora Insurance. Definitely the challenges, because working in the insurance industry and working with the diasporans globally, the same stories are the stories that we hear from all diasporas are the same, because our product or products that we do and that we craft are targeted at diasporas from Africa, and the stories are the same in terms of distress, in terms of people losing their loved ones, and then they want to bring them back home, which we call repatriation. And most of the times you find that families don't have enough resources to do that. So like Bernard is saying, that in these WhatsApp groups, they actually function as fundraising platforms to say, I've lost my brother, I need to send him back home to Kenya, or I need to send him back home to Zimbabwe or South Africa, and I require at least £10,000 or $10,000. Please kindly help me. Or even on GoFundMe platforms, people go on to create a GoFundMe platform to fundraise, to bring their loved ones back home. So the stories are the same, and people are still using, most people are still using that kind of like communal approach of trying to solve issues in the diaspora. And this is why we're here to discuss how we can move forward as a people in terms of our development and advancement.
You see, problems and challenges, make people to think deeper and try to develop solutions. And that's how the diaspora insurance, concept was brought about. I want to hear how have the diaspora responded to this?
Yes, so we began our business about more than 12 years ago, after realizing the same stories coming across. We see them on many platforms, people struggling to meet their challenges. So the reason why this has been happening is not that there are no insurance products available in where most of the diasporans work, but it's because the products that are available there in most countries are not tailored for the African diaspora. Why? Because of the nature of our existence. Like you mentioned in the beginning, that about 92 billion US dollars are being remitted to Africa. So that tells you a very important aspect of African diasporas, that socio-economic connection between us and Africa. So if I go and move, if I go and live in UK, I am there are actually two people within me. One belongs to the UK, one belongs to Kenya. So those socio-economic ties are very strong. So it matters most when it actually comes to your end of life. So where am I going to be buried? Where am I going to be laid to rest? So my family back home in Kenya usually will demand that our son needs to come back for final resting place. So this is where the challenges come in. This is where the pain and the struggles come in that Bernard is talking about, where people now need to bring that body back home. So these are real challenges. These are real issues that we face.
And I mean, being an African and being from Kenya, and I also want you to respond to these as you respond to what Sibet is talking about. I understand, the pain that families would go through to meet hospital bills, to meet funeral expenses. And sometimes you can find yourself even in 10 groups, WhatsApp groups, of people raising resources, for this. You're from the UK. Can you give us an idea of how much it would cost to repatriate a body from the UK to Kenya?
Okay, thank you very much, and I'll touch on also of what Sibet has said. Yeah, so the expenses, just to go straight to what you've asked, just to repatriate that body, you are looking at a cost of between £7,000 to £10,000.
£7,000 to £10,000.
Yeah, so if you multiply that by say 160, the mathematician,
you get 1.6 million.
1.6 million. We're talking about 1.6 million. That is just getting that body across to the airport on the other side. You've not yet buried it.
You haven't buried this person.
That person is not buried yet.
And of course, it's not, this body is not coming straight from the airport, to the graveside.
Yes.
There's also another ceremony in between. Probably, maybe they need to spend more time in the morgue, as the funeral arrangements are being made. So you'll be talking about almost 3 a.m.
Yes, absolutely. And let me tell you, we are now, I'm talking about maybe a proper body. I'll give you a case where we faced where one of us drowned, and it took a while to find him. And you know what happens when people drown, the body decomposes, and now trying to repatriate that required very specialized coffin, it has to be fluid sealed, so I think just that repatriation cost us about,
so it can go significantly
it was
high.
About 15, I think it was to the tune of more than 15,000 pounds.
15,000
Yeah,
pounds.
because of the preparation required for the body to be repatriated.
And it's not just about repatriation. You're not just sending a bag or cargo.
Yeah.
Family has to accompany as well.
Yes.
So you're talking about flights of family members that need to accompany that body, and maybe also their personal belongings maybe need to be shipped back home. So the costs, if you start adding all those up, they start jumping up to higher figures.
Yeah.
How often do you go through this?
Good question, because as we speak, let me mention this. I'll retrace a little bit back to the question you had asked me about government participation. And the reason we're actually in Kenya is that on Tuesday, we had a very, very fruitful meeting with the Principal Secretary for Diaspora Affairs, Rosalind Jogu. And the reason we came is because we've been communicating, and one of the things she mentioned was an unfortunate case of a Kenyan who was brutally attacked in February. We are talking of just brutally attacked in Albania, left for the dead. She was picked by Good Samaritans, taken to hospital. That was reported to us, and this is where County 48 comes in. When we say we are County 48, we are not looking for titles. We are saying we have the same structures of a county like we have in Kenya. So our people on the ground, we got wind of this Kenyan who was lying in a hospital in Albania through another Kenyan who was actually asked to go and donate blood for someone in the hospital whom they believed was actually from Ghana. Only for this Kenyan to go donate blood and discover this is actually a Kenyan.
A fellow Kenyan.
Yes, by the name of Joyce. This story, it broke our hearts completely. Joyce Aoko. And immediately we discovered these are Kenyan, and you know what had happened? My first call was the PS, Rosalind. And I say, PS, I got this disturbing news of you. And she said, no, I had not heard about, but thank you very much. We are going to take this up. And, people say, you will hear people say, oh, the government doesn't care. I'm telling you, from the moment the PS got that information, she worked day and night. I introduced her to the mother of Joy, who was in Albania, where they tried the treatment was there, but it wasn't working. The government had to evacuate Joy from that hospital and bring her here to Jomo Kenyatta Referral University Hospital. Yeah. And that's why I say, yes, the government works. And our partnership, when I say we work in partnership with it works. And the PS confirmed it during our meeting. And what we've said, that's one case. As we speak now, in the same meeting, our representative for the Middle East was in the meeting with us. He came. We came, all the regional coordinators, plus myself. So, last month, we had to repatriate a body from Qatar.
Qatar.
All right. Yeah, Qatar.
In UAE.
A woman, UAE, a lady who died, and she was in the morgue for 3 months. And we had to raise money as Diaspora County 48, and we repatriated that body.
I just want to pick it up from where you said that you picked up your phone and you called the PS.
Yes.
I'm sure not many people in the diaspora, who have, number one, the audacity, to call the PS, and number two, they even have the number, the personal number of the PES. And so one maybe points to ask, you are based in London, where you have the Kenyan mission, which is one of the biggest Western missions in the world. Yeah. Why do you think of calling the PES and not, first of all, getting the help from the mission, from the embassy in London?
Right. This case, the Albanian case, is supposed to be dealt with by the Kenya High Commission in Albania. But unfortunately, we don't have a mission there. So the nearest mission is in Italy. So everything in that region is operated from Italy. I don't have any contacts with the people in Italy. But when the PS was inaugurated, and that's why I'm saying she does her job. The first thing she did was to liaise with community leaders in Kenya. And I'm very sure I'm not the only one who was the PS. She cares. She works with us. And now to come to the point of how did we get where? So those are just two cases we've had. The government has had to intervene many times. And when the CS, Cabinet Secretary, Alfred Mutua, came to the UK, I had a meeting with him at the Kenya High Commission, just in case you think we don't work with the Kenya High Commission. I was invited to the Kenya High Commission to meet with the Cabinet Secretary.
And so you're buttressing the point that, you collaborate with the missions abroad.
There is a lot of collaboration between us and the government to serve Kenyans. Our count is about service.
Yeah.
Now, can I just link that to this? During that meeting with Alfred Mutua, Honorable Alfred Mutua, the CS, that's where I presented to him the solution, because all the time we've been talking about the problem. Kenyans in distress, Kenyans die, and where do they go? Everybody, they all run to the government. Who does everybody blame? The government. I say, we have a solution here. Why don't we have an insurance policy cover for Kenya for evacuation and repatriation? If a Kenyan is in distress anywhere in the world, they are covered. They pick up the phone, and within 24 hours, their ticket is paid. If they are in a secure area, what we call safe spaces given to them, secure housing, until they actually get home. If they are dead, unfortunately, it covers evacuation as well. So a relative will call, and within 24 hours, money will be provided to cover not just the repatriation of the body, but also the other expenses, like Sibat said, people accompanying the body, and maybe those people. Remember, these people have been working in diaspora. They have properties. They have beds, houses, sofas, TVs. You don't want those things to be lost. So they should really go back to the family. So that's what we are saying, that this is what, and I presented this to the cabinet, and his words, to quote him verbatim, were, that's a very brilliant idea.
I want to hear from Sibat, because the whole idea of diaspora insurance probably was inspired by another idea. What inspired the whole idea of coming up with the diaspora insurance?
Right, that's a very good question, O'Brien. So the idea of coming up with the diaspora insurance was a realization of how our people in the diaspora were suffering from stories like that, the ones that Bernard has been narrating. These stories, you find them if you go on any GoFundMe platform, you see loads and loads of them. Every nationality, be it Kenyans, Zimbabweans, and so forth. So the same stories that are coming up. So we were looking at why is this happening. So one of the reasons was that people, one, they don't have enough savings in their accounts. If there is a bereavement in a family, be it in the diaspora or here, people don't have enough savings to meet the huge costs that we elaborated here, about £10,000 or $10,000 or 15,000 or 20,000 US dollars to be able to meet those expenses. So what do? They go on GoFundMe, beg from people, borrow from people. The other side of the story is that, okay, so why is it that they don't have insurance products to protect themselves? So what we realized was that like most of the insurance products that are available in the diaspora, where most of our people live and work, are actually designed and created for people who are local, who live locally, die locally, and get buried locally. So if you're talking about repatriation, if you go to the insurance company that is in your town, they don't really understand about repatriation, that if I die, I need an insurance product for take myself. If I die back home to Kenya or Zimbabwe, they don't know, because they're only saving people who live in the UK that die locally and get buried locally. That's what they understand. So because of the dynamics of a diaspora, it creates that kind of like conundrum. Like you exist in the diaspora, but you also want you got strong connections and ties with your home country. So that gap, we realize that gap in the market, to say there's a huge gap. There are no products that are suited, that are designed for our people. So that's when we sat down and crafted a product, which is called Diaspora Funeral Cash Plan. So the reason why we came up with the funeral cash plan was, one, we realized that not all of them, not 100% of the diasporas would want to be repatriated. Some of them are establishing their families in the diaspora. That becomes their home. So if anything happens, they want to be buried in the diaspora. But we also realize that, okay, they've got families that are back home that need to be covered as well, because if I lose my relative in Africa, it is actually my responsibility in the diaspora to fund that funeral. I'm actually the first person to receive a phone call to know that, oh, uncle so-and-so has died in the village. Why? Because I'm the breadwinner. They want money to fund that funeral. So it also falls on me. So I need immediate resources to fund that. So this is why we also allow people who take the Diaspora Funeral Cash Plan, not only to cover themselves and their immediate family, but also family members that are back home in Africa, because we realize it's your responsibility. So if you go to any insurance company as well, they don't realize that they don't allow you to cover people that are outside your country of residence, because they only cover risk which is within your territory, within that territory, be it UK, US, Canada, or Australia.
So your cover, what you're calling the funeral cash program?
Yes, Diaspora Funeral Cash Plan.
Yeah, cash.
Yeah, cash plan, yes.
Cash.
Yeah. So can you give us a feel of, how much is the contribution and what is covered by the premium?
Right. So what is covered? How we have structured it is that we got different cover amounts. So we want to give a lot of flexibility to our clients. And this is why it's a cash cover, because it gives people flexibility. You decide what you want to do with the money and with the cash. Either want to be repatriated, buried locally, pay for flights, pay for tickets. So you can actually choose the cover amount that is suitable for you and also that suits your budget. So a family can choose to say maybe a family of 4.
Yeah.
Each individual, each member of that family can be covered up to £20,000, US dollars, euros.
20,000.
Depending on where you are, because our products are actually denominated in hard currencies, which is a good thing, because hard currencies they hold value in the long term. And up to date, we cover at least 13 African nationalities, including Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, and other African nationalities. So a family can choose to say, I need a package of about 10,000 for each member to be covered for 10,000 pounds or US dollars. And that
and
can
how much
come
would
up
I
to
pay?
a ballpark figure that I can give you is probably about £40 per month.
£40?
Yes, only
per month
to get your peace of mind. Because what happens is the cover amount, the premium is determined by 2 things: your age and how much you choose to be covered. So if you compare the benefits that the product gives and the amount that you pay in premiums, it's not comparable.
That would be about 8,000 Kenya shillings.
About how much? Sorry, 8,000.
8,000. You're talking about £40.
Yes, and for people in the diaspora, for people in the diaspora, this is something that's very affordable, because if you compare with things that you consume daily, which we can call discretionary consumption. If you forgive that and start to concentrate on things that actually create value for yourself and your family members, there are huge benefits. Yes.
You see, to many Kenyans, people in the diaspora, are people with a lot of money. there's a lot of money in the diaspora. You're actually given free money.
We wish it was like that.
Absolutely not.
Is this the case? Because you see, and I'm saying this, from the traditional African setup, whereby if, for example, you're going to the United Kingdom, you're going to Canada, you're going to the US, we place so much financial expectations on you that we expect you to fund the school programs for the people left behind, to build us a new home, to contribute during our funerals and weddings and dowry payments and so much. And the reality of life is the fact that, life in the West is very expensive.
That's true.
And the other thing is that you have unemployed people in the West. It is you don't have jobs waiting for people. Sometimes you have to go through months, before you get a job. Right. Is the picture as rosy as it has been painted, or it has been made to be believed?
Absolutely not, and you are spot on. Life abroad can be very brutal. Okay, like you've said, people live with this expectation that you land there, you start working and you start minting money. That's not the case at all. And one of the things we discussed with the PS on Tuesday is we would like to be given the mandate to regulate, or at least to oversee what some of the agents are doing in this country. Because what they are doing is they are promising people heaven on earth. Something that does not exist at all. It's a fallacy. You tell people, okay, just get paid this X amount to the agent, we are going to get you a job, or you are a teacher, you are going to go to the Middle East, you'll be a teacher and all. It's all lies. You get there, and the job you are going to do is cleaning in the homes or driving if you are lucky to have a driver's license. That job you are promised does not exist. Okay? Some extreme cases is the job on the other side, the agents who are supposed to receive you and put you with the employer on the ground do not exist as well. You see, so what happens to these people? They get stranded on day one. And now the relatives back home have to start sending them money and so on and so forth. So one of the things we requested the PS was, allow us, we have people, we have the structure on the ground. We know who the employers are. We know what jobs are there. Let any agent here now be regulated, okay? Let the government, we can work in partnership and say, you are on the ground. Can we verify whether these employers exist? So there's that that's one thing we requested. We also requested that formal, because you asked me, you pick the phone and call the PS. You see, and that's the point I made to the PS. I say, all we are asking as Diaspora County 48 is formal recognition, where we have a formal letter. So when I pick that phone, you ask me to call the High Commission. The first thing will be, who are you? Why are you calling us? Do we know you? No. But if there is a formal letter from the government of Kenya saying, any issues concerning Kenyans abroad, we are working in partnership with Diaspora County 48 structure. If they call you or if there's something they report, take it to the next level. You see, so we are just asking for that formal recognition.
Is County 48 a private entity or a public entity?
It's an organization. We are just a lobby group, basically, registered in the US and the UK. As we speak now, we are getting registration here in Kenya as an international NGO.
As an NGO?
Yes, but in the end, our hope is through amendments in the Constitution, Article 97, 98, which talks of 47 counties, change that to 48, and the Schedule 1, which talks about the boundaries. If we can have that changed, tabled in Parliament, then a referendum, then County 48 can actually be created.
A County 48?
Yes.
Can be created?
Yes.
Which will
so Kenya would have 48 counties.
Which will involve now, Kenyans voting for the leadership of
Yes.
of that county, and it will be subjected to the regulations that
Everything.
govern the other 47 counties.
Absolutely.
I wanted to hear this from Sibet.
Yeah.
You know, through this, you know, insurance package that you have developed, do we have, you know, a country where this kind of a concept, you know, has been embraced and it is working and it has been institutionalized?
To answer your question, I'm going to answer it in two parts. The first part is we've developed the Diaspora Funeral Cash Plan, which I was talking about, which has been in existence for more than 12 years. So this has been available to at least 13 African nationalities. And to date, we've paid more than $4 million US dollars in terms of claims to deserving families. So that has made a huge impact to the families of those that have lost their loved ones. So claims have been paid, even families here in Africa, Europe, USA, and so forth. So this has made a massive change to our clients. Now, County 48 came to us and said, well, we've got a situation of the resources, so they end up coming back to the community leaders to seek for help. And then the community leaders, like the case that Bernard was alluding to, of that lady was attacked in Albania, then it falls onto the government. So it's like we can't keep on operating like that. We are people in the diaspora. We need to live by first world standards. So what we need is a sustainable solution. So you guys, can you come up with something that works?
Very good.
To say if any...
Hold on your thoughts a little bit, and sorry for stepping on your shoes, because we're in the company of two gentlemen. Dr. Sibet Mandenga, he's Executive Director of Diaspora Insurance, and Bernard Kavi, who is the Chairman of Diaspora County 48. Before we wind up, you were talking about, you know, this concept of Diaspora Funeral Cash Program. Is this a concept that can be borrowed by countries and be implemented?
Yeah, so like I highlighted, O'Brien, so Diaspora Funeral Cash Plan is already has been in existence for the past 12 years. So it's available to 13 African nationalities, including Kenya, fortunately. So any Kenyan in the diaspora can actually access that product, cover themselves cover their family members in the diaspora and also family members back home in Kenya. They can go on our website, diasporainsurance.com, get all the information they need, get registered, and get themselves covered. But then there's a new product that we are working with County 48, which we have proposed to the Kenyan government to say, any Kenyan who's leaving Kenya to go and look for opportunities abroad, why don't they take an insurance product? Just in case things don't work out well and they're in distress, Diaspora Insurance comes in, intervene, we pay out a cash, and we intervene in this way. Like, one, we provide you with a safe place to live. Maybe you don't have accommodation, so we can provide you with temporary accommodation. If you want to come back home to Kenya, we pay your flights and you are home safely. So you don't need to burden the community and you don't need to burden the government. And in other case, if anything happens, when worst comes to the worst, let's say you pass away, Diaspora Funeral Cash Plan kicks in, we can repatriate your body back home. So that's a sustainable solution for people who are going abroad, for the community leaders, because for all you know, these people, they are working tirelessly. They get these phone calls coming in thick and fast.
And I know that you know, our social health program, in the name of our National Health Insurance Fund, you know, has also been working, you know, to provide insurance coverage for people in the diaspora. Do you think this is likely to be a solution?
Having the cover, what Dr. Sibet has talked about, this is bespoke. It's tailor-made for the Kenyan identified problem. This is something we've looked at. What is the problem? Where does it pain most? And we are saying stranded Kenyans, Kenyans in distress, and Kenyans who die in diaspora. What can be the solution? What is the solution? And we are saying a bespoke, unique policy which just covers those areas of evacuation and repatriation. I don't think there is any other insurance company. Before we approached Diaspora Insurance, we've talked, we've researched. I have not seen a specific insurance company that specifically addresses those issues. Where, remember, for this to work, this is where the County 48 structure comes in. Why? Because we are the ones whose members we know, so that the insurance will not just be sitting there and someone just picks the phone and say, oh, I'm in distress, I need to, someone and so, someone has died. Our structure comes in, the County 48 structure comes in, so that if someone is in that situation, we have someone on the ground. Like in the Middle East, we have someone on the ground. If a Kenyan is suffering in Qatar, Saudi Arabia, this person will verify, and then that information will be forwarded through our channels to the insurance, so that it's connected. So you can see the need for the government, as in the Diaspora County 48, and the insurance. So this is like a troika. For it to work, we need all three of us to be together.
Very good.
The government needs to enforce this by saying, if you are leaving the country, take this insurance. Because if something happens to you out there, this time around, we are not in the business of evacuating or repatriating people. Why? Because we found a solution for that. You see?
Very good.
Exactly. So that's the solution.
Unfortunately, gentlemen, you can see time is very well spent. It's 4 minutes past, actually 12. You're supposed to be out of here by 12. But thank you so very much indeed for joining us and helping us understand, the challenges facing the diaspora, not only here in Kenya, but also, other parts of the world, because we have heard it from Dr. Sibat Mandega, who is also from Zimbabwe. Otherwise, your time is highly appreciated.
Thank you very much, O'Brien, for hosting us.
Very good indeed.
Thank you. It was a pleasure, and thank you to all Kenyans for listening to us. And you are all welcome to Diaspora. And when the time comes for the county, please vote yes for our referendum. Thank you very much.
Very good. Well, that is Dr. Bernard Kavi, who's the chairman of Diaspora County 48, and Dr. Sibat Mandega, Executive Director of Diaspora Insurance, joining us here on BizCheck to help us understand more about the diaspora insurance concept, as well as the challenges that Africans in the diaspora are facing and how they can be tackled. Well, when I look at the time, it's 5 minutes past the hour of 12. I've been here since 10, so we have to wind up because we have to give way for Kurunzi Mashinani. My name is O'Brien Kimani. Thank you for your time. Good afternoon.